Welcome back. It is year six now of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show. Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee, and hard to believe we're already back to talking about these games. We're back to the NFL season. Football's in full swing, and I know we're both thrilled to be back to bring another year of this show. And before we talk about football, though, again, I'll bring in Vince to talk about our great sponsor who's back for a sixth year. Huge thank you to Climate Tech Inc.
Climate Tech Inc. Unbelievable 6 years. The cause of this show, right? So can't thank them enough. Guys, I will let them do the talking for you, but I will tell you this. At Climate Tech, excuse me, I do it every year, right? Climate Dash Tech Inc. They provide top quality heating, air conditioning, ventilation services focused on your comfort. Their goal, provide the communities of Western Cuyahoga and Lorain County with the best resolution and a complete repair on their very first visit. And we say Western Cuyahoga, we say Lorain County, but they truly are all over Northeast Ohio, Stark County, Medina County. They will come out, they will see you, they will fix your problem. And again, proof in the pudding, right? I do this show from my home every single week, all 6 years. And it's always, like I've always said, right? Warm during the winter, cool during the summer. And that's because of Climate Tech Inc., my personal HVAC company. And Cole, welcome back for year six. I can't stop smiling. So very cool to be here with you again. I know you and I really look forward to this.
Yeah, it's a good time. We always enjoy predicting these games, enjoy getting a weekly catch up, right, to talk about football as well. And whether we're talking high school football, college, NFL, I know the premise of this show at this point is just strictly the NFL picks, but it's an opportunity to get a good catch up with when the season's in full swing, which is exciting. So I, of course, have already gone through all the NFL games, kind of picked what I think is going to happen with records. And as this show is airing on the first day of the game, if you haven't checked out my prediction article for this full season for the NFL, make sure you check that out on keonsports.com on the website. I will say this though, Vince, again, when I did that, and now for this show, you and I have said it in past years, we're going to say it again. Week one, week two, and then the very end of the season, like week 18, those are the toughest weeks to predict,
Yeah.
especially those first 2 weeks, just because you really don't fully know what a team is until we get 2 weeks into the season. And even if a team is definitely on paper, they're going to be bad. You expect them to be bad. They end up proving you right that they're going to be bad throughout the year. There's a lot of times where a team picks up a win in week one, there's a false sense of hope because other stronger teams maybe are a little bit slow ramping up coming out of the preseason before they hit their stride. So this is always a week where we are probably at no loss of potential upset picks. And just a reminder for everybody for the format, we're going to talk Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, our primary upset pick for the week, and always wrap up with the Cleveland Browns. So, Vince, any thoughts, anything you want to say about this before we jump into Thursday night football?
I do. I do. And I'll make it quick. This is the week not to judge us by, right? So historically over the years, if there are 16 games, right, you gun for 8-8, right? If you could get an 8-8 in the first week, you did something right. This is, like Cole said, the most impossible week. We've had weeks where he and I had like 6 wins or 7 wins. I mean, there's some weeks where it's so tough. And as I'll echo what he said, week one, week two, week 18, I believe it is, now that they play 17 games, which is nuts. But throw those three out the window, and you and I are very competitive. So yeah, I just wanted to echo that statement. Absolutely. You mentioned the high school football. We'll talk about that at the very end. But Cole, I am ready to go, my man. I am so excited. I can't even contain myself today.
Well, let's get it going. I need a redemption here. It's been one of those long stretches where we have been neck and neck, oftentimes changing positions as well
Oh yeah.
throughout the season of I'm in the lead, then you're in the lead, and I might take the lead for a couple weeks and then it's back. But every time, right around Thanksgiving and after,
Yep.
like you have gone on a run late November, into December, and then it's just been a matter of once you hit the playoffs, it's almost impossible. Even if you're down 2 games, it's almost impossible to catch up because there's so many less games to actually pick from, and there's a good chance we're probably more on the same page when it comes to the playoffs as well, even in the regular season. So, a matter of needing to jump out to an early lead because I know it's going to happen in November and December. That's when you hit your stride. So, we'll dive into this with Thursday night. And we'll see if we're on the same page. I think there's a good chance we're going to be on the same page, and we'll see if we're both right on this one. So, Thursday night football, interesting. Starting with a division rivalry. I feel like we've seen this quite a few times where we've seen some division rivalries to kick off on Thursday night. Thursday night is typically of the, big night games of the week. A lot of times provides a lesser quality game than what we see, especially on Sunday night and often Monday night.
Yep.
This year, is there potential that, in past years that you see Eagles, Cowboys on the schedule? It's like, oh man, this is a, pristine prime time matchup. Uh, Always when there's a division rivalry, there's a chance of an upset happening, something big happening. But I'll tell you what, you got the defending Super Bowl champions, a Philadelphia Eagles team who, in the preseason, actually, when the Browns were up against them for their joint practices, the Browns actually dominated those joint practices. However, will that matter in the regular season? With how good that Eagles roster is on offense, with how much depth they have on defense, this is a team that they should be in the running to make it back to the Super Bowl again. It's tough to repeat, but
Yep.
they're going to be in contention. And then you got a Dallas team who they're struggling at the running back position with refilling. Yes, they restocked from last year, but you have Javonte Williams, who hasn't been the same since his knee injury, Miles Sanders, who had some good years in Philadelphia and has kind of dropped off since, and Jaden Blue, who I don't think is necessarily going to be the rookie running back to step up and be the star. Javonte Williams is going to be the starter. It's just a matter of can he be as productive as he was right away in the
Yep.
NFL as a rookie,
Yep.
but when he was healthy.
Yep.
He's still got the power, but I don't know if he has the explosiveness. So I don't know if I trust that committee on defense.
Yep.
Rid of Micah Parsons here just recently, which is just insult to injury already. I think Dallas is really going to struggle. And like I said, for those who haven't checked out my article, again, this is airing on Thursday. Make sure you check that out. I think Dallas is going to struggle this year, and I just think it's going to be proof in week one. This is not going to be a surprise game. This is going to be Eagles dominant 31-14.
I love Javonte Williams. And one of the biggest problems we had in Denver was lousy offensive coordinators not knowing what to do with him. I thought Sean Payton last year could have remedied that a little bit. Bo Nix had a good year because of Sean Payton. That's over, that's done with. Dallas and themselves, though, as a team, lost their best player last week. And when you lose, I feel that he is. When you lose your best player a week before the start of the season, either it's going to do one or two things. It's either going to tank you or it's going to surge those guys. We saw it a couple years ago when the Browns got rid of OBJ. Over the years, you see like a 1 week surge, right? But I agree with Cole. I think in the long term, I'm not sure I see Dallas as a serious threat in the NFC East. I just don't. Would love it if they were. I'm a big Cowboys fan. I just am, but I don't see that happening. Philadelphia, in my notes I wrote down here, basically they didn't lose much. They're healthy. No one really left them, coordinators aside. You're always going to go through coaching changes, but for the most part, this is a team that's really pretty much bringing everybody back. So with that being said, I think a week one victory. I agree with Cole for Philadelphia. The one thing I will say though is this: you might get 3 really good Thursday night football games a year, and the other 14 or whatever not the best. But this tends to be a good one, right? Because this is the one where these teams knew they were going to play week one. They've game planned probably for months. They're all healthy. Like this usually is one of the best, if not the best, Thursday night football game of the year. Almost always comes down to the wire. Almost every year comes down to the wire. I know it did last year with Baltimore and Kansas City. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to having football back. But yeah, definitely, I agree with Cole. Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I think with Dallas, considering I think that they might only go 5-12 this year and have a really bad year, um, even if the offense is still making things happen like through the passing game, and Dak Prescott still has a good year and he's finding CeeDee Lamb, but they're just struggling to run the ball and their defense is struggling. Um, I think the season might not be the fault of Dak Prescott. It's really going to be the fault of the front office for not setting up the roster in a position to actually succeed. That being said, I still think if they have a record like 5-12 and they struggle, I think this is the end of Dak Prescott,
Yep.
even if he has a good year, because I think they're then looking at it of, hey, we've got an early pick. It's an opportunity to take a quarterback. A lot of times as Dallas, we're in the middle of the pack or, early 20s. We don't have the opportunity a lot of times to pick, a top 10 quarterback. So let's take advantage of the opportunity. And Dak's had his injury issues. So this is probably the final year of Dak Prescott realistically, because Washington's good, Philly's good. I think Dallas is so far behind both of those teams right now.
Yeah.
I just expect this to be the final Dak Prescott run in Dallas.
Two things, and I'll make them quick. Here they are. Dak Prescott can't stay healthy, can't win the playoffs. I hate to use the word can't, but it's true. And I
Mhm.
can people will continue to label him with that can't until it occurs. And the best chance he had to win was years ago. It ain't looking good. It isn't looking good.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Well, as we move to Sunday Night Football after being on the same page for Thursday night, thinking the Eagles will win, this is, in my opinion, the pristine matchup of
Mhm.
the entire first week. And a lot of times that's what we get on Sunday night. Sunday night gives us so many good games week in, week out. There's always a few that aren't close, but I feel like in general, we get a ton of good Sunday night football games. Everybody loves the Carrie Underwood anthem, right? As that kicks it off, as that's been a long running thing. But ultimately, I really think that NBC has a time slot where they just constantly get good matchups, and it's a really good way to wrap up the weekend. And I think it's going to be that way here in week one. The Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, the Bills playing host to Baltimore. Both these teams continuously nipping at the heels of the Kansas City Chiefs, just trying to get over that hump and actually make it to the Super Bowl. They've both been lurking. It's just been a matter of who's actually going to break through and get past the Kansas City Chiefs and make it to the Super Bowl. Vince, I'll let you start here. Who wins this game to get on the right foot?
Well, I'm going to address Baltimore at Buffalo in a second. The other game, which is a primetime game, I know we're not predicting or breaking it down tonight. Friday night football to me in the NFL is the dumbest thing ever because if you're a big football fan, you're probably at a high school football game that Friday night. So that Friday night game, Chargers at Chiefs. I mean, I just besides those two fan bases, I would love to know the ratings for that game because again, the football community 9 times out of 10 is at a high school football game that night. Okay, that aside, Baltimore and Buffalo is your AFC Championship game likelihood. I feel like I say that every single year, right? And then
Yep.
Buffalo cannot get past Kansas City. It's like set your clock to it. Here we go again. But unbelievable, right? I mean, we all love Buffalo, the underdog story. Baltimore's really good. I say this every single year, and I get heat for it. Baltimore's one of the best teams in the NFL. I'd put them top four, top five easily. But week one on the road, Sunday night football, you're waiting around, you're waiting around, you're waiting around. You finally get to play. You're like, one of the last ones to play opening week. It's a lot to wait on. I actually think Buffalo's going to win. I don't think they're going to win easily. I think it's going to be one hell of a game. And we talked about Dak Prescott, right? So the Lamar Jackson situation, a little bit different. But the two things, again, can't stay healthy, can't win the playoffs. That has been the knock on Lamar. Can he bust through both those things this year? Last year, yes, he did. He stayed healthy. He won the playoffs. They lost in the championship game. So he showed that he could do it, but can he get him over that final hump? Week one predictions are so up in the air. I'm going to take the home team here. I have a lot of away teams in my actual picks, but taking the home team here, taking the favorite, I believe they were favorited by like 2 or 3 points. This is a toss up. Taking Buffalo, no other reason than I think they have something to prove. I think they're irritated about last year. Both these teams got knocked out by Kansas City. Both these teams have something to prove. We're going to start with the home team week one on Sunday night. Buffalo is my pick.
Well, this is going to be a good game. It's a hard one to predict because, yes, Buffalo's at home, so that gives them an advantage there. But at the same time, I think week one is week one strange in the sense where I don't think home field advantage is quite as prevalent in week one, just as everybody's trying to get into rhythm. So, as I look at this game, I think it could go, it's a toss-up. It's going to go either way. Whoever loses this game, they're still going to make it to the playoffs. Whoever wins this game, they're going to make it to the playoffs. We're going to see both still have an opportunity to make a run and try to make it to the Super Bowl to try to get over that hump. It's just going to be a matter of can either one of these teams do it, like we just talked about. There's going to be a year where the Kansas City Chiefs don't make it to the Super Bowl. It's going to happen. And everybody's predicting that, right? Whether that's, 2 years ago, last year, Kansas City keeps making an appearance. Whether they're winning it or not, they keep getting there. So when is it going to happen that another team, ends that little run that we've been on here recently? Again, I think it's this year. Could I be wrong? Could it be Kansas City returning? Absolutely. But in the next couple of years, there's going to be a time where it's a different AFC team. That's a given.
Yep.
But I'm going with Baltimore to be the team on the right foot here in this game. I think Baltimore on the road, I think they're just going to edge out the Buffalo Bills 27-24. Again, I think it's going to be a tight game, a good game, and it could go either way, like I said. But I have Baltimore winning this one, so our first different pick here. But in the long run, I have Baltimore as the team to break through and actually make it to the Super Bowl this year. I think this is the year where they finally get over that hump. That defense is so strong. I mean, it is absurd on paper, the talent that they have on defense. On offense, I think Derrick Henry now having another year in that system, is he probably towards the end of his being a star running back career? Yeah, he's kind of an anomaly compared to a lot of other running backs who start to get older. But because he's so big and strong and he's managed to be an older running back and continue to be productive. And I still think he's got plenty in the tank this year to be effective. I think Lamar Jackson has the potential to, be really effective with Derrick Henry in the backfield, not only as a runner, but I think Zay Flowers coming into year three now. I think they're going to utilize him even more than they already did. I think that they have enough weapons on offense to be really productive. And like I said, a really stout defense that they're going to be a tough team to beat. So I have Baltimore finally getting to the Super Bowl this year. And I think Baltimore, as you'd see in my article, I have them as the winner of the Super Bowl this year. And I think it all starts
Woo!
a good start week one here against the Bills.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. The only thing I'll say is the NFL did a good job with this one. This is a marquee matchup week one. Very few excuse me, very few times you could say before a single game's been played, everybody's 0-0. Oh, I can't wait to see this game, right? Like usually it's like week 4 or 5 or 6 when things start to line up a little bit. But when everybody's 0-0, you just kind of a little bit of a crapshoot. Not this time around. Good job by the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say Monday Night Football as we turn to that, though. Again, a division rivalry. Um, I don't think it's necessarily the best game, right? I look at this one and I'm like, I don't know. I think the Bears are going to be a little bit better this year. Um, but are they to the level of competing with the Packers and the Lions? No, they're not. And do I think the Vikings have a huge drop off from last year? I absolutely do. And I think the Vikings had a better record than how good they actually were last year. And we had talked about that numerous times. Props to
Yeah,
them for doing what they did, but
they got caught.
it was proof in the playoffs that immediately they were bounced because they weren't really quite as good as what their record actually showed.
Unders.
But now I think they've taken a huge step back. They're putting the football in the hands of JJ McCarthy. They're trusting that McCarthy can be their young quarterback to lead them. I think if they're, switching to more of a run heavy quarterback under center offense, that's going to help because that's what McCarthy was used to at Michigan. But if he's got to step back there and throw as many times as Sam Darnold did last year, I don't trust him to do that. So again, I'm like, I'm not necessarily moved by their defense. Aside from Justin Jefferson and when Jordan Addison comes back, and I still think Aaron Jones is a good running back in the backfield. Aside from a few guys, I'm not overall impressed with the offense that they have around JJ McCarthy. So that being said, as much as I'm down on the Vikings and I think the Bears are improving and I think the Bears are going to be the better team long term, give me the Minnesota Vikings this week because I think this is going to be a week where the Bears maybe don't have Ben Johnson's system fully figured out. It's not fully operational to where it's running smoothly like it did with the Lions. I think it might take them a little bit to adapt and settle into that. I think the Vikings too, again, like I said with McCarthy, they're going to be working through the kinks and working through issues. But I just think, I really do, Vince, I just think that the Vikings in a defensive battle are just going to squeak one out, give a false sense of hope that they're better than what they actually are. They win this one 16-13 on Monday night.
I agree completely. I think the Vikings are going to see early success this season. Early. Okay. Maybe the first 5 or 6 weeks as they run the system around McCarthy, as you said, with a large amount of running the ball, maybe a lot of slants, short passing game. If they have to rely on him to win, it's not going to happen. They're not better than the Lions, not better than the Packers. They are a distant third. There's a lot of hype this year behind the Bears. I don't know why. Like everywhere, like I know we're got Brand sort of Penner's being on the Bears. I'm not seeing it. I'm just not. Not a Caleb Williams guy. Never have been. Probably never will be. Just not my team. But as Cole said, week one they have a new coach, new system. Let's see how it plays out. They could come out and blow the doors off the place, and everybody's sitting there with their jaw dropped. Right? I don't see it happening. As Cole said, I have to agree again. 19, 16, 22, whatever. Low scores here. Opening week, I think Minnesota is going to win. And as you said, probably squeak one out. But I think the betting line for this is going to be very, very heavy on the Bears, as there just seems to be a lot of hype behind them. But if you're looking for a Monday night special, I'd go with the Vikings in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So upset time and the thing with upsets, we talked about it. There's really no loss of opportunities to take upsets in week one because really anybody can win this week. I feel like it's the term any given Sunday, right? I think it's any given Sunday when it comes to week one. And it's not until those teams start hitting a rhythm. So, but I'm not even going to talk about Sunday. I think, and I'm going to just go ahead and start, and I'll let you start with the Browns. I'm going to say this. You said earlier, we aren't going to talk about Friday night. Yes, we
We
are.
are.
We are going to talk about Friday night because we've seen the Chargers and the Chiefs go up against each other in week one a few times before. And I think when you're out of the country too, this is that Sao Paulo game. I think anything can happen when you're out of the country. So I'm going to say this. Give me the Los Angeles Chargers, the underdogs, against the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. Close ball game, 23-21 is my prediction. But I just think the Chargers have a little bit more week one magic against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs, it's still their division. And I think the Denver Broncos this year are the second best team in the division. The Chargers are third. So I know that's music to your ears that you think that I think highly of the Denver Broncos this year.
Work right up.
But Sean Payton has something figured out with Bo Nix and how they're running their offense. And I think their defense, I mean, it was a number one level defense last year and how they performed. So anybody who plays fantasy football, the Denver Broncos, pay attention to them. They've actually got some easy games to start. That's a defense that you want initially. So I think that if they can find a little bit of that magic from last year, I think the Denver Broncos, like I said, behind the Chiefs, I think that they're probably going to get the wild card spot, meaning that the Chargers, who I think are the third team in that division, they're probably going to go like 9-8 and just miss the playoffs. They're on the outside looking in still. I think there's good aspects to that team, but they're not quite there. However, again, like I said, week one magic against the Kansas City Chiefs, an opportunity again for a false sense of hope that they're better than what they are. I just think Jim Harbaugh and company, they get it done out of the country.
So Jim Harbaugh finally got to meet him, covered the Hall of Fame game That was a thrill. Always been a big fan of his. That aside, love what you said about the Broncos. I agree. I'm in a Survivor League for the first time in probably 15 years. My buddy talked me into it, $10, whatever. So they are my pick week one. The Broncos are my lock of the week or whatever, hosting Tennessee. As far as this game goes, I think if this was being played in Los Angeles in week 6, 7, or 8, I'd actually go with the Chargers. Every year we see them get closer and closer and closer, and they can't seem to get over that hump. With this being week one, with this being Andy Reid, with this being, I wouldn't call it overseas, but obviously not here in the United States. I'm not a geography major, by the way. Don't ever hold me to that. But that's the thing, guys. I feel like if it was a home game, a true home game for the Chargers, they would pull it off. This is a tough one. I went back and forth. Eventually landed on the Chiefs, but they might have a season of disaster. It was like last year, the Chiefs were just on that brink all year long, on that brink. The problem is, as much as I love the Broncos, and if you were to look at the other side of my basement, you would see how much I love the Broncos. I don't think they are there yet. I just don't, right? So I think they're kind of distant behind the Chiefs. So to me, I feel it goes Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos in that division, with the Broncos right there with the Chargers. And I'm just speaking truthfully. We'll see how it shakes out. But week one, I won't get to see a minute of it. That is Friday Night Football. So, but I will pick the Chiefs. And I don't even know what is that game on, like Amazon Prime or something. I can't even tell you.
I'd have to look again. I think that might end up being the prime game. Let
All right,
me
well, that's
yes, actually no, it's YouTube.
how
So,
YouTube. Wow, that's wild. So, but how distracted now is Kelsey going to be that he's engaged? Just saying. There's a lot going on there.
I don't know. We'll see.
Mine was easy. Well, I wasn't marrying Taylor Swift, so you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's getting older and it might be a distraction for him, but we also know that the NFL has been leveraging every little bit they can out of getting, her fans for viewership. So, anything they can do to help get the Chiefs some wins, I think they'll
And
pull the strings. So,
I know two little girls in North Olmsted that seem to want to watch every time the Chiefs are on, that previously had zero interest in football. So yes.
so Vince, what is your official upset here for
My
this?
God, I don't know. I got a ton of them. I'll give you four, and I might have more than that. So check out our picks
Yeah,
when they come out. Check out the article with our picks underneath this video you're watching. You'll see picks, but I'll give you four. I'll make them quick, and I'll make an official one that we could talk about. Sound good?
sounds
Sound
good.
good. All right. Detroit over Green Bay. Very slim, but Detroit is better. Vegas over New England. As much as I like Vrabel, I'd never pick a new coach in a for a team. He's not a new coach overall. He's had a lot of success elsewhere, but new coach week one, I tend to pick against Miami over Indy. I'm kind of shocked that Indy is the favorite in that game, so that's going to be my official upset pick. And also Houston over the Rams. So four upsets for you: Detroit over Green Bay, Vegas over the Patriots, Miami over Indy, and then Houston over the Rams. I'll talk about my official one here, which I think I said was Miami over Indy. Indy's a cluster of nonsense right now. They don't know what they're doing. Quarterback wise, I mean, if you can't say Anthony Richardson is a bust by now, I don't know when you're going to declare that. They're just all over the joint, can't seem to stay healthy. Miami, I feel, has a lot to prove. I think Tua, if again, there's always those ifs, but if Tua could stay healthy this year, they have a lot of firepower on that offense. I actually think they smoke the Colts and win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. And I am stunned that they are the underdog in this game. So for me, if you want to talk about an official lock of a pick, I'm definitely taking Miami.
Yeah, I agree with you on Miami. I have Miami as well in that game. I don't think it's going to be quite as much of a blowout as you think. I have it as 26-17, but I actually think the Dolphins have a really tough season ahead of them. I think they're going to struggle. I think the Colts are going to struggle. So I think both these teams struggle. To put this in perspective, Vince, I think the Dolphins, they finished last in their division this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I have Buffalo.
Behind the Patriots.
I have the Patriots actually sneaking into the playoffs as a wild card.
Wow.
I think Vrabel really has something going there. I think their defense is going to be better than people expect. I actually think they're going to be strong with Vrabel as the head coach. I think Drake May started to figure something out. I think the addition of Travion Henderson with Ramondre Stevenson, I think that
He's
adds
tough.
something in the backfield. I really think that the Patriots are going to sneak into the playoffs. And I think that the Jets are going to be better actually this year than the Miami Dolphins. So I think this is kind of the year that the Dolphins fall apart. I don't trust their defense. I think that Tyreek Hill's kind of wrapping up his time of being actually a quality elite receiver. I just don't see much from them. So I think that's interesting. And the other thing you mentioned, you said that you think that Detroit is better than Green Bay. I think this year, I think it flips. I think that Green Bay wins the division, and I think that Detroit, without Johnson as their offensive coordinator, I think that they're going to take a little bit of a step back. Still going to be a wild card team, still going to be very good, but I don't know if they're going to have the same success as Detroit did last year. I think last year was their best opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl, to win a Super Bowl. And I think they're still going to be good. They're still going to be a playoff contender, but they take a step back. And Green Bay, I already thought that Green Bay was going to make it far. The addition of Micah Parsons helps even more on defense. I said earlier, I think Baltimore wins the Super Bowl, and I think they win it over the Green Bay Packers.
Wow. Okay, great. What a flip you had. Because last year you wouldn't pick Jordan Love to save your life. So I got a lot of picks, a lot of points I knew last year picking Green Bay when you picked against them. Interesting. Okay, so let me write this down now. So you let me type this in. So you're saying Green Bay, correct?
I'm saying Green Bay.
I have Detroit. All right. You are saying New England. And I have Las Vegas, also correct.
Yep, let me confirm, but that should be correct.
We both took Miami.
Yep.
Okay, and then Houston and the Rams.
And I took the Rams in this game.
We're gonna have a lot of different picks week one, guys. This is gonna be fun. Make sure to tune in
And I
to
think
see
I
where it
think
all
Houston
goes.
and to be clear, I think Houston and the Rams, I think they both make the playoffs.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll let you start with the Browns, but before we even get to this Browns pick, I'm just looking at it. One, two, three, four, five different picks already for week one.
Yeah, it's something else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we usually split. It's usually an even number, and we almost always split week one. So who knows? But if I'm down six week one, oh my God, like it ain't gonna be pretty.
so we'll talk a little bit here about the Cleveland Browns. I think the interesting thing week one, playing against the Cincinnati Bengals in recent times, for the most part, they've had some pretty good success against the Bengals. Last year, not so much, but years prior to that, did very well against Cincinnati, and we're continually getting the better of Joe Burrow. Uh, this year, here are my thoughts on the Cleveland Browns. I think there's a lot of strong talent still on that team. There's a lot of new, like young rookie talent that they brought in, Mason Graham and Carson Swessinger, and I think there's a potential for those guys to end up becoming very good players. Are those young guys now probably a year away from, being fully ready? Yes, they're probably a year away, and the bad part is the Browns have a brutal schedule. Like first 6 weeks of the year, it is ugly, right? You play all your division rivals one time in those first 6 weeks. Your easiest game is against the Minnesota Vikings, but you've got to go do it in London.
Yeah.
So you got to go overseas to go play your easiest game in the first 6 weeks. So here's the thing. Is the Browns roster going to be as bad as their record this year? No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of good pieces still for potentially next year. I just think everybody needs to think about it from this perspective of Joe Flacco, great, happy to have him back. Hope the offense, is able to score enough points and do well enough that they surprise some people and they win games early. But I think the reality is, even if they're close in some ball games early, I expect some close losses. And we're probably looking at 1-5, 0-6 first week, couple weeks of the year. After that, season's already shot, right? So why play Joe Flacco at that point? Then it's probably going to go to Dylan Gabriel. The middle of the season's a little bit easier of a stretch. So Dylan Gabriel's going to get his opportunity then to prove himself. Is he the quarterback? If he does great, cool. He's going to be the starter the rest of the year. If he falls apart and flops and they're like, well, Dylan Gabriel's not the answer, it will probably move to Shador Sanders and he'll get his opportunity. And then he has to prove himself. Long story short, my best guess would be either Gabriel proves himself and he's the starter long term down the road, and the Browns next year with their pick and the Jags pick, they get to, get weapons like Caleb Downs at safety and somebody else. But if not, and everybody on this roster proves that they're not the guy, it's going to be a Drew Aller, a Garrett Nussmeier, Kate Klubnik, somebody who's going to get drafted at quarterback early next year. So this year is really going to be a lot of just let's see what we can do. Let's try to stay in games. And if things fall off, if the wheels fall off the bus, then we're going to try to keep the talent that we have. We're going to try to prep for next year, and next year we make a good run at it. So there's my expectations early. Kind of a quick summary of what I expect for the season. And I think the Browns, like I said, their record's going to be bad. They're going to have a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, not only then their pick, but then they're going to get Jacksonville's pick, which hopefully that's a late top 10 pick, maybe. Um, it's going to be a lot of prepping for next year, which is annoying for Browns fans because it's always next year, right? It gets exhausting. But with a brutal schedule, that's probably what's going to happen. So this week, I got the Browns losing to the Cincinnati Bengals 20-10. Um, Probably going to be a decent performance from the defense. I just think Cincinnati has just a little, as they have more firepower. They're going to prove that they're the better team this year. Cincinnati wins this game, and it starts that early slide. Again, I'd love for the Browns to win and prove me wrong, but they've got the toughest, I think, first 6 weeks of anybody on the schedule. And that's the unfortunate part about it.
Well, I'm gonna keep it really short because I want to wait until about 7 or 8 to start really breaking down the quarterback situation and do we draft Drew Eller, and we'll go from there because I think once we get to that point in the season, which I feel we will, that it's gonna probably start to dominate the show because when anytime you bring up Drew's name, personal connection with him, really love the kid and want to see him succeed in the NFL. So those talks are to come later on in the season. But I will say this for this game. The Browns have no running game right now, right? We thought they'd have a phenomenal running game with, both rookies we picked. I loved both those guys, but sure enough, the Cleveland Jinx, one of them already in trouble. So just craziness there. They need to work through that. Love Joe Flacco, big Joe Flacco guy. I think he's going to get you a couple wins on his own this year. Was a huge supporter of his. Was devastated when they didn't bring him back. But the problem is now he's 2 years older. Let's see what he has left. He's going to make it competitive at times. I really think he will. I truly do. He might turn the ball over, but he's also going to throw some good BBs there. The problem is our defense. Now, in years past, Ward has shut down Jamar Chase. It's unbelievable his success against Jamar Chase. It's crazy,
Yep.
but you can't keep doing that forever. Our secondary is terrible. I think Martin Emerson was a bigger loss than people think. So unless Greg Newsome steps up this year and really starts to play to his potential, and I hope he does. We met him over the year. He met my daughters. He was a nice guy. I'm rooting for him. But that aside, being a nice guy is one thing. You have to have the talent on the field, and that's the thing. Do the Browns have it on defense? No, I'm not a big Myles Garrett fan. I am stunned what they did when he demanded a trade. I would have drove him to the airport, man. Like that was music to my ears, and yeah, not happening. So I don't like that move to put all that money into him. I think it's just crazy. So there's been some moves on that defensive side of the ball that I'm not real thrilled with, but but I do like the draft picks on defense.
Yeah.
I think both those guys are going to pan out. I really, truly do. So I love Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end on all. Like they made some good draft picks this year. And my God, stop me again from saying it. Like I feel like we say it every year. I think they made good draft picks. The two quarterbacks, not so much. When I look at who's going to be coming out next year compared to Sanders and Gabriel, kind of like next year's class a lot better. So that aside, that is what it is. I think Cincinnati wins this week. I don't think they win handily. I think this is going to be the typical week one Cleveland heartbreak, where we have a chance to win it then and we don't. So new kicker, see how he shapes out. But to me, the big factor is here for the Browns, week one at least, a weak secondary that's going to get torched and no running game at all to speak of, zero running game. So that's all she wrote for week one, going with Cincinnati on that.
Yeah, I really like Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, you know that from my analysis going into the draft. I had him higher than Shador Sanders, right? So it's Cam
Mm-hmm.
Ward, and then rounding out my top three was Dylan Gabriel and Quinn
Yeah.
Ewers. So I think Dylan Gabriel is a very good quarterback. He runs Kevin Stefanski's system so well. At least he did in preseason. It's just going to be a matter of when it gets to the regular season. And you're right, Joe Flacco is going to make some games competitive, but I think you're wrong on that he's going to get us wins because I think if they go on a bad stretch of losing too many games, season's shot.
Momentum.
He's 40 years old. They're going to pull him and see what they have for the future. And Flacco won't even get an opportunity to get to the easier part of the schedule, which is unfortunate for him that he'd be the sacrificial lamb, but it's kind of what you have to do for the future. They're starting him because they think he gives them the best chance to win right now. And if they don't win, then why even play him? So, and I hope that Dylan Gabriel ends up proving he's the guy because then you don't have to worry about getting a quarterback next year. You can get Caleb Downs at safety. You can get a couple other, really good players early, but we know the song and dance. We know that there's probably a good chance that a quarterback's going to be in play again next year. I hope I'm wrong on that, but I think I think Dylan Gabriel has the best chance, obviously, between him and Shador Sanders with running Stefanski's system. I think he does it more efficiently. I think he's got the potential of being a good starter long term in the NFL or a very high-end backup. It's just going to be a matter of when he gets his opportunity because it's going to come. Does he show up? Does he prove himself? And we'll obviously talk about that a lot more as we get later on into the year. First task at hand is the Cincinnati Bengals, but it's the first game of a brutal stretch, and hopefully Cleveland Browns fans can enjoy this season. It's not as painful as what I think it's potentially shaping up to be. I at least hope that the games are close and we get to see some positive things from the young talent that we get to cheer about. We get to enjoy Sundays, and it doesn't make our year miserable, even though the losses could easily be piling up. But we will see.
I'll leave it at this with Gabriel. I was a huge Colt McCoy fan. And it's
Mm,
funny because you and I didn't know each other yet, right? But we just have so many similarities. It's crazy. I was a big Colt McCoy fan, and I love the fact when he started to play. And it's weird because it was like Jake Delhomme was the starter that year, Seneca Wallace was the first backup, and then there was Colt McCoy, right? But I kind of feel like same situation again, where Jake Delhomme was the veteran. Maybe he'll get us a few wins. Let's see what we have eventually in the rookie with Colt McCoy. The Browns had that same situation this year. I don't like Sanders. I don't like Kenny Pickett either, quite frankly. But I was more than happy with them starting the season. Flacco 1, Pickett 2, Gabriel 3. The fact that Gabriel's 2, I'm fine with that too. I like Dylan Gabriel. I really do.
yeah.
Will he be able to be more than a Stefanski system quarterback one day? I don't know, but I can guarantee he's going to get the chance. I don't think there's a guy alive who thinks Flacco's going to come in and light it up and we're going to the playoffs. And, it's just this is Cleveland. We have to be realistic about things. So I think Gabriel starts, but, kind of as Cole said numerous times, the first 6 games are a buzzsaw. I'd rather have Flacco. I don't care if the Browns go 0-6. Have him start those first 6 games no matter what. And
Right.
then if you go to Dylan Gabriel in week 7, let him play out the rest of the season. People are so into this Shador Sanders thing. It makes me sick. I don't like the guy. I don't. I think he's fake. I think a lot of things are very fake about him.
Yeah.
So to me, they really had a chance to just cut baggage with that. He had a great first half against backups in a preseason game, and it's like people want to crown him. That's not the way it works. So, hey, is what it is, 1 week at a time. But yeah, this is Cole, just kind of wrap things up, at least on my end, as far as NFL goes. Just happy to have it back. Very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Longer show here for week one. We did a lot of talking in this one just because, opportunity for us to come back for the first time. We get to talk some football again. We get to talk about what we think is going to happen for the outcomes for the season. So a little bit shorter, some of these next weeks. Again, we'll still be touching on the same time slots, same windows, but maybe not as much as the extra of what we expect to happen throughout the season. But always good catching up here in week one. And we will yeah, just that was weird. Sorry, no, just my seat shook for a second. So no, just an opportunity to talk some football. So before we wrap up here, Vince, what do you have on the slate for high school football?
Guys, our first two broadcasts on Keon Sports this year have been legendary. We have a huge one coming up. Week 3, old fashioned rivalry, Wadsworth at Medina. Gas up the tank, head on out there. But if you can't make that game, we're going to stream it live on YouTube. Check us out, the same channel you're watching right now. Friday Night Lights are back this week. Wadsworth at Medina. Shout out our guys there, Brandon Marvel, Brandon Soder, and Don Clary. Just have done a bang up job through the first 2 weeks. Sponsors through the roof. Everybody's doing great. We appreciate you. And our slate of written coverage is huge. We have 20 games covered in written print. We have 6 videographers out there this weekend. Keon Sports continues to be absolutely loaded. And as of this morning, we are 1-0 against Canton. Story for a different day. Cole, thank you for having me back.
Well, check out the picks, the full slate of the week one schedule on keonsports.com. For myself, Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee, signing off.